Hello. So we're just on Twin Dams Road, north of the dams itself, and we've caught up with that little mischievous calf. He's actually just to our left now. So Mum's busy feeding behind us, and we had a beautiful visual of her, but obviously she heard live and went, okay, I'm just going to stay behind this tree then. How do you hide an elephant? Stick it behind a thorn tree. There you go, you can see the ears flapping now. That's not aggression, that is her trying to keep cool, like I said before, just flapping her ears to cool the blood. There he goes. Hi Misha. Misha asking what are the differences between African elephant. The main differences, we're hoping he's going to pop out so he can actually show you. Where's he going to go? He's got a bit further over. But if you look at their ears, one of the best ways to remember the difference between African and Asian elephant. African elephants, Africa is big and India is small compared to Africa. So the African elephant has like the continent of Africa, like big ear, a smaller triangle, India, which is the Asian elephant. It's that's how you can kind of remember. So something like that for the Indian elephant, and the big ear like have one finger. Head twisting while we reposition ourselves.
Well, don't worry, Tara. These things happen. The gremlins are very naughty in that area, and I feel like we need to phone Taylor because Taylor seems to have the anti-gremlin spray and has taken it on leave with her. So we need Taylor to return the anti-elephant. I mean, not anti-elephant, anti-gremlin spray. And the reason why I said elephant is because I spotted some elephant dung in the road. And well, it's elephant day, so we might as well get into it. I know Tara loves to talk about the dung and who dung it and all of those kind of things, but we'll just start off anyway, because I'm sure Tara can't get out where she is at the moment. So I'm going to bring a giant heap of elephant dung to us. So there's nothing wrong with handling this dung before everybody gets a little bit concerned as to what's going on, because this dung itself is just really processed grass. So here we go. This is a nice big ball of elephant dung. You can see it would have landed like this. Now what we can see, and what we will have seen probably with Tara, is that those elephants are feeding quite heavily. But when they feed, and the reason why they spend so much time feeding is because the digestive tract of those elephants is very, very poor. There's not very much absorption of nutrients that goes on, and a lot of what is eaten unfortunately just gets ejected out the other side the same way it went in. And you can actually see that here. If you look, there's lots of fibrous material all throughout this elephant dung. So bits of grass, there's a few branches that we can see over there that they've actually utilized. What is very interesting about the dung is normally at this time of the year we should see that the dung takes on a slightly more reddish color, and the reason for that is they normally are feeding a lot more of cambium at this time of the year, which is that layer that sits underneath the bark on a tree. But we can see in this particular elephant's dung is that it's actually been mostly on grass. So now this dung is actually not that old. If I break it apart, which I will do gently because I don't want it all over my car, but you can see inside there it is still very moist. Alright, so this dung is probably, I would say, maybe 2-3 days old, and it's still got some sort of moisture content in there, and yet it's still full of grass. So I would have expected a lot more leaves, twigs and roots inside there than as opposed to grass. And it just shows you that we did have enough late rain that it has allowed these elephants to still feed off the grass late into the season. And it is an interesting dynamic, and I wonder if it's because last year they had to rely so heavily on the trees that there isn't nearly as much food in the trees this year as there was last year. Now when I opened it up, I'm just trying to see if I can't find them for you. They've all seemed to have disappeared and run away, but there was a whole bunch of little beetles that were actually running around. And earlier I was talking about, there we go, you can see them there. See it just by my thumb here, Senzo? I'll try and just hold on, let me just try and expose it a little bit. There it is. Oh, where's it gone? there was a little black beetle, so just look out for it. I'm going to try and see if we can't watch it. But that little black beetle is moving around, and we were talking about earlier with the hornbills. There it is, there's one over here, Senzo, up at the top. I'm going to try and see if I can show it to you. You see it just crawling around? Where's it gone? There it goes. Just have to look for a little shiny black dot that's moving around within that grassy pile. And so that's what the hornbills will be after. They'll be after any of those little insects as they peck through this kind of dung, and they'll expose insects inside there. I don't know where it's disappeared to now. Every now and then you'll just see a little black shiny insect moving around within it. Now underneath you'll see that there is some soil. This soil is actually from a different insect, so the beetles are not causing all the soil particles that you see here. This will actually be from termites. In the winter months, termites heavily rely upon elephant dung to be able to find food sources. So what they do is they start to come and they'll actually build a little sort of circumference around the dung, and they'll start to tunnel inside you, and they'll pull bits from inside that, and you can see that it does stay moist for quite some time, and that then allows the elephants to be, the termites to be able to find nutrient-rich grass that is somewhat processed and soft and pull it down into the soil layer. So it's a good place for termites to feed. It's also quite a hard exoskeleton. Once it dries, you can hear it's quite hard, so it means that it's difficult once it dries like this for birds to be able to get to it. So it's not just poo, there's lots that goes on inside here, and it's a whole ecosystem, and without this many insects and birds would not be able to survive. So our ellies are hugely beneficial to everything out here, and are one of those species that if you had to remove, we would have a little bit of an issue. Senzo, you want me to eat this? No, we're not eating elephant dung, Senzo. That's a bad idea, so we're going to throw that off and carry on. Now I know Steph, who is our resident survival expert, would have probably had no problems in squeezing handfuls of water out of that dung, but well, I value my stomach and value not sitting on the toilet for too long and not looking like that jackal, so I would rather not do those kind of things. So take care, you're wondering why the dung is always in a ball shape and not in a long sausage. Well, take care, I'm not actually 100% sure. I would imagine it's got to do with the way that their stomach is shaped and the way that things get processed, and as that comes out there will be some sort of muscle relaxant on the sphincter area, which might just pinch it off and cause that ball to happen, but I'm actually not 100% sure. Maybe Tara will know. She's always good at these very in-depth technical questions about anatomy, so maybe she can help us, and she is with the elephants, and I wonder if she knows why balls come out rather than big one long sausage when it comes to the elephants.
Oh, it sounds like Tristan's been getting his hands dirty. Oh, we've been chilling with the ellies. So just to finish off, there was a question I was asked about the difference between the African and Asian. I was struggling to make a triangle with my fingers, but hopefully we got there. So, try again? Yeah, we'll try again. We won't try again. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, look at that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Indian elephants with a small triangle ear, African elephants with the large, like the African continent. What I was going to was the tip. The fingers on the end of the trunk. So with the African they have the 2 fingers, and with the Asian they have the 1. And the Asian also have 2 lumps on the forehead, whereas the African don't have those lumps. And internally, actually, one of the differences is that African elephants have 21 ribs and the Asian elephant have 20. So quite a number of differences between them. The Indian are a little bit smaller as well compared to the African elephant. But as I say, if you can match the ear to the continent, the size of the continent, that's your biggest help. Asian also tend to have pinkish skin as well, especially as they get older. Oh, there we go. Let's just bash that tree over. So Tristan actually also wondering why some of the dung comes out ball-shaped rather than sausage-shaped, and it'll be to do with how it gets passed through the intestine. but actually making the ball shape, I'll have to do a bit more reading. It's very fuzzy, but it is to do with just how it's made in the intestine, and as I say, you get the carnivores kind of coming out like a sausage shape, and with the cats it does tend to almost have the indentation, so it looks like a pod of peas. And then obviously you've got the elephant and rhino coming out ball shaped. And the same with the impalas and all the other antelope. So hopefully you can actually hear the sounds that we're hearing. So we're not hearing the elephants themselves walking. All the branches breaking is literally them breaking the branches off so they can feed on them. Oh, there's a baby coming up here. Oh, scratching itself. Look at that. Oh, that is too cute. How about that on World Elephant Day? Live here, Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. Absolutely fantastic. And if you are a new viewer and would like to test that we are live, chasing after the Franklin. That's a very typical stance of an elephant trying to be intimidating, so with the head raised high, the ears out, and believe me, when it's an adult elephant, it is very... Trunk up, she's sniffing something, possibly where the rest of the herd have gone. So you can send in your questions, hashtag Safari Live or YouTube to send them through. And Paula has done just that. Welcome on board, Paula. Paula wanting to know, do elephants stick to one area or do they move around? And elephants move around a lot. More so in the winter time because there's not as much food available. And if they did stay in one place, they would just completely decimate it. So it's in their nature to actually move on. So they do. They almost do like a figure of 8, and this is much larger a figure of 8 than during the summertime. Oh, look at that! Oh, just too cute. Trying to get the head shake going on there. They are, aren't they, Glory? Baby Ellies are so much fun. Until they're causing trouble and their mum thinks it's us. That's when they're maybe not so much fun. Okay, and there you go. Look at that. The world's largest mammal. Oh, just behind us. As I say, completely quiet. So the world's largest mammal, and it just disappears. And unless you can hear them breaking the branches, you can't hear them moving. And that's because their feet, so if you can imagine that this is the bone, and they walk right on the tip of the bone, and if this is the whole of the track, right on the tip of the bone like that, all of this behind the bone is all tissue. So it's a cushion, and it moulds around stones and things like that. So that's why they walk so quietly. Okay, I'm going to try and reverse. Maybe we can get a last view before we start heading over to where the lions were. And as I say, Rusty doesn't like going backwards. I have to persuade Rusty very nicely. See if we can maybe have another look at that baby. Very, very cute. And the heat of the sun is starting to leave, which is now becoming quite pleasant. There's the little one through there. Wait for me, Mum. Hi, Tula Ann. Welcome on board. Tula Ann wanting to know if elephants get a stuffy trunk like we get a stuffy nose. And I believe they do, and sometimes you do hear them sneeze. There's a little elephant just behind this bush here. I was hoping we can maybe get another view of the baby before it heads into the drainage line. I wonder if he's going to pop out. No, you're going to go that way. Okay. Yep, you own the road. Unfortunately, they also have flies that live up in there. Oh, someone's not happy. There's a female just behind the bush here. Don't know if you could hear that deep rumbling. I can't see what is going on. I'm thinking we could maybe go into the drainage line there and just see if we can see what was going on. Okay, we've got an elephant coming up to our right here, also lifting a trunk. I'm wondering if somebody is around. Yeah, she's going to join them. Not in a huge rush to join, but she is. Yeah, she is on the move. She just made that grumble again. Contact call. Hi James, welcome on board. We've got one more Ellie to come out here on our right. There we go. It's going to cross the road. James wanting to know, have I ever been lucky enough to see an elephant birth? And unfortunately I haven't. That would be absolutely amazing, but they do tend to go into thick bush and try and make sure that it's nice and protected for the mother to give birth. Okay, well, she doesn't seem too phased either, but we'll drop down into the drainage line. We might lose signal, but I think Tristan might have something to show you while we do that. So if you want to jump on with him, and then if we find anything, you can jump back on board with us.
We do. We have some Wildebeest who I'm sure are very happy that they live in the Sabi Sands and not in the Masai Mara, given what I've seen coming out of the Mara lately from Brenton, Jamie and James and Steph and Scott. It seems like those poor wildebeest that side are in constant stage of torment by all the various predators, and our wildebeest here seem to live a very charmed life in comparison, as they move around and don't really have too much to worry about. The odd leopard here and there, and the lions for the most part don't actually really give them too much of a hard time. The lions tend to target the buffalo a lot more in this area. Not that there have been many buffalo, but still, it's not nearly the same as the wildebeest in the Mara that seem as though they get a really hard time that side. But this is our resident group that we see on Djuma. It's quite a large group actually for the Sabi Sands. Wildebeest in the Sabi Sands are never in huge numbers like we see in the Masai Mara. The terrain here doesn't suit a wildebeest lifestyle. It's far too dense and thick, and it really isn't the best habitat for them. So we seem to find small pockets that are spread around the sands in these more open clearing areas, and so this is the largest grouping that we do see here. There's, I think, in total about 18 or 19 of them. They spread out all over the place, and you can actually see the females are starting to show the signs of being pregnant, so a little swelling in the bellies, and they'll start to give birth around December, January is when we should start seeing the first little ones being born. That's one of the calves from last year that managed to survive, which is fantastic news. It's always good when we see these young ones surviving. It means that the herd itself is growing, particularly if they're females. They'll be absorbed into the grouping and the male will then look after them. So nice to see the wildebeest, and they've been down at Treehouse Dam, and I was kind of hoping feeling that we were going to stumble upon the Styx Pride down this area. The update that I got was that they actually crossed from close to Little Gowrie Driveway, which is not far from Treehouse Dam, and I was wondering if they maybe didn't make their way here. But so far, no sign of those tracks that I can see. So I'm going to head towards Shabamu and where those tracks may have crossed and have a little look there. But if the Styx Pride did cross this way, this would be an animal that they would target. It seems as though the Styx, now that they've been whittled down a little bit just to the 3 females, they often are going after animals of this size. They almost as though, because there's the less numbers, they're targeting slightly smaller animals. They're not having to go after massive groupings of buffalo. They can go after small animals and still sustain themselves, and less dangerous ones. So you're finding that they do go after wildebeest. I've seen them on a number of wildebeest kills on Arathusa airstrip over the years. They tend to target them quite a bit in that area. So it's interesting, if the Styx Pride was here, I'm pretty sure they would try and latch on to hunting these guys rather quickly. You can see one just having a little chew there, very typical of a wildebeest. So, John, you're wondering if we use the drone to track any of the animals. Well, John, no, not really. I find a situation where the drone is normally only used when we have animals that we know of, or if we've got very fresh tracks of going into a certain area and it's very thick and we're battling to find them. So things like wild dogs, the drone really helps us with that, because the dogs move such a quick pace and it's very difficult to often see them and to be able to find them in those thickets. And because they move so fast, the drone just helps us to get ahead a little bit. So we do use them from time to time with the wild dogs, but other than that, no, not really. We tend to try and track animals and find animals on our own accord, and then once we've established a sighting, be able to then try and use the drone to view them after that. Now there's just a vehicle that's just driven past us that wanted to see what we were watching, so hopefully we can just try and move forward a little bit, because it seems as though they can't get past. So we're going to just go a little bit forward for them. There we go. You can see a little bit of commotion has caused the wildebeest to all have a little stare. Roshni, you want to know why the wildebeest are known as wildebeest? Well, wildebeest in South Africa it comes from Afrikaans, so wilde is wild and beest is a beast. And so for some reason that's what they were named. I'm not 100% sure actually how the name came about, but it is an Afrikaans name. I'll have to try and ask some of my Afrikaans friends if they have any stories about as to why it was named that. I would imagine it's got some funny story, knowing the Afrikaans. The Afrikaans tend to have a very good sense of humor in South Africa, and the names that they've given some of these animals are very accurate. So it would be interesting to know exactly why they've given it this name. Its correct name is a gnu, or a brindle gnu, or a blue wildebeest, and so I'll have to ask some of them. Now, Caitlin, who's 10 years old, hello Caitlin, you're wondering if I can speak Afrikaans. Well, Caitlin, to say I can speak Afrikaans would be a lie. I can understand Afrikaans, so I have many Afrikaans friends that if they speak to me in Afrikaans, I don't have a problem. I can understand them. It's not that difficult to understand, but speaking is a little bit more of a challenge. The reason why is because their word order is very different to what English is, and I tend to get confused with everything, and so my speaking of Afrikaans is not that great. My dad is fluent in Afrikaans, so he can speak it fluently, but at home we spoke English, and so I do understand it, but I don't really speak it, to answer your question. So we'll have to get a second opinion from some of our Afrikaans friends. I wonder if Chantal knows. Chantal is in FC. Chantal comes from an Afrikaans background. I wonder if she knows why it's been called a wildebeest. We'll have to find out if Alice can ask her, because I'm sure Chantal is in the final control at the moment, and if she maybe has an idea. So, Project Alpha, you say wild cow. Well, I suppose that's probably what it was, actually, is that they are very similar to cow in a lot of respects, but you would think that they would have named a buffalo a wild cow more than anything else. But I suppose they are quite similar. They are grazers. They are ruminating animals, and they used to occur in the wild. And so maybe when the first settlers arrived in South Africa and they were part of that great trek, that's why they called them that, is that they came across these guys much more than buffalo, and that's where it got its name from. That would make a lot more sense. So thank you for that, Project Alpha. You learn something every new, and that's the best part about Safari Live. And as much as we try and teach and to explain things as much as possible, you, the viewers, often have little interesting facts that you can teach us, and so we all learn together. And that's probably one of the best parts about this job, is that we are not always going to know everything, and that we can learn from you guys, and really always appreciate when you guys send us lots of info and you send us little articles and everything. It does help us, and it allows us to grow as individuals and as a community together. So very cool. Now it seems like Tara is still sitting with her ellies and is still enjoying them, and I can actually hear them from where I are. That's not very good English. Where I am, and they are rumbling and carrying on, so I'm sure she's having an absolutely wonderful time, and I'm super glad that she's got to spend time with the ellies this afternoon, and especially on the day that it is today. And I know Tara has a soft spot for the ellies as well, so let's go back to her and see how she is and whether that smile is as big as I think it is.
I think we're both battling to try and have the longest link, aren't we? So, yeah, we did leave the elephants, so hopefully Tris can catch up with them again if he's close by. We think possibly the female elephants, there was a few more that came out the bush, and they didn't seem to be sort of racing to get to where the other female had called. So I think possibly it was just another case of someone just getting upset with somebody else, but maybe Tristan will find something in the drainage line there if that's where he is. But we thought the light is actually getting to be really nice now, and look what we have in the road. That's where we're heading. I was going to say we've got a special little viewer on board, Casey Jade, and I believe her favourite animal is a giraffe, so I was really hoping we might be able to find a giraffe for her. So you never know, we might be lucky, but look what we have here. I'm just going to get a little bit closer, because he is out for the count by the looks of it. Now I was hoping that we could maybe get to the buffalo carcass and actually catch up with the pride that are there, and I did hear there might be one of the Birmingham boys there. And Casey saying, silly lion lying in the road. Exactly, Casey, we need to find a giraffe for you, don't we? So this is one of the Birmingham boys. I think this will be a different one to what was being said on the radio. I think they did mention a Birmingham boy being around, but I think they said it was at the carcass. So I might just let everybody know that there's one here as well. Hi Snazzy. Snazzy wanting to know what's senior age status in a lion. Well, male lions generally get to about 10 years old in the wild. Females maybe about 12. Obviously that's give or take a few years, but that is the average. So yeah, probably about 9, 10 for a male and 11, 12 maybe for a female. I'm sure there'll be some viewers who might be able to give us an update on how old some of the lions are in the Sabi sands. Be quite interesting to hear their thoughts. And I do believe there was a little story we were going to tell about an elephant. I think there was, I'm just trying to remember the name now, Mary. Was it Mary? That was it, yeah, Mary. So Mary said she didn't have a snake with an elephant, but she did see elephant on horseback, and I bet that was pretty spectacular. I'm not sure I'd like to be on horseback around lions, though. Especially this male lion. Look at those paws, sure. And he has been to the carcass by the looks of his belly. Nice and full. Yeah, now just sleeping it off. Getting irritated by the fly. As you can see, his tail twitching every so often. All stations, I've got one Madoda and Gala on Hyena Road. You can see there's a white stripe under his eye, and it's thought that's supposed to aid them when they're hunting at night. It's thought that the light from the stars and the moon can be used and absorbed and bounced into the eye to help them see better. I'm not sure if I believe that, but that is the theory behind it. Certainly the animals that you see with the black around the eye, it's supposed to help them during the day, so the light gets absorbed into the black sections, so it's not glaring into the eye, and that works in my head. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Some of the viewers coming back with who this lion is. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to familiarise myself with the lion, so apparently it's Msuku. Just see if I can check my notes on how to ID Msuku. By the time I learn them, I'll be off again. So apparently there should be a black stripe in his mane. Oh, there we go. I can see the black stripe actually. So he has a black stripe in his mane, and Msuku, sorry, is supposed to mean gold because he's got quite a golden mane. So apparently he's one that we don't get a chance to see very often. Well, that's awesome. So apparently we don't get a chance to see him. So everybody is excited. Oh, that's brilliant. I wonder, he might have gone down to the dam to drink. He might have gone to Buffles Hook Dam. That's the next road and a bit over. So I think he's closer to Buffles Hook Dam than he is to Gowrie Dam. I believe the girls went down there to drink today. And then they'll head back to the carcass. And there is a nice breeze now. Hi Laurie, asking if cats dream, and you know what? I am convinced they do. I saw them one night, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. We'd been sat with them for quite a few hours. The pride was sleeping, they'd eaten, so they're all nice and full like this male here. And the male was on his back, as they tend to be when they're full, so they can actually expose that thin skin on their belly so that they can actually expel the heat that it's producing. But he was on his back. Big male, like this one actually, maybe a little bit bigger, a larger mane. And we'd had the lights switched off. Oh, there we go. Whoa. Thank you very much. How's that for the script writing? So there you go. Just because of all the energy that it's creating in there, and the temperature is going to be rising, so they just need to try and get rid of that heat. So he was on his back like that, legs up in the air, and we just heard this oh sorry but he was doing something like that, and we've And I switched the spotlight on and we just saw his back paws twitching. If you've ever seen your dog dreaming, it was exactly like that, twitching paws. So I am convinced he was dreaming, and I think we actually saw it, thinking about it, with the 2 Birmingham males. I think it was last week when we caught up with them. And one of them foot was twitching. No noise, just the foot twitching. So I think they do. Oh, look at those eyes. So is dream linked to deep sleep? I think it's just coming out of deep sleep, isn't it? If I remember rightly. Yeah, I heard something as well. I didn't quite catch it, unfortunately. It was almost like a roar, but it wasn't a roar, hey? No? No? Kind of like a
yeah.
Kind of a cough?
Yeah, like a cough.
Yeah. It was over towards where the carcass is. I'm thinking maybe it might be an idea for us to try and move there. See if we can actually try and navigate around Msuku. See, I think he also heard it, didn't he? I think he seemed to. Sorry, I got sidetracked actually trying to listen for it. But I did have the game channel in my ear at the same time, so. Okay, well, let's see if we can negotiate our way around without disturbing him. I think there's a bit of a path there, so we don't have to push him off the road. But it'd be quite interesting to catch up with what's going on there. Wonder if there was perhaps a bit of a dispute over the meat. Hi Dennis, and welcome on board. Dennis asking if black-maned lions are more dominant than light-maned lions, and it is thought they are. It's thought they have more testosterone in their bodies. Well, apparently it's not worth his bother anyway. I thought we were going to get a nice view of him looking at us, but he's just flopped back down. Hi Jinlin, welcome on board. And Jinlin asking, why do some animals have manes and some animals don't? And it really depends on why they have the mane. With the lion, it's to show dominance, it's to show how strong they are, and it's believed that the mane will actually be a disadvantage because there's quite a lot of temperature, that's quite a lot of heat that's going to be trapped by that mane. So they're not going to be able to expel that heat very easily. So mane shows that they are strong, and especially with it being dark as well, because that absorbs the heat. So that's going to show how strong they are. And they have found that males who are in very hot climates tend to have shorter manes and lighter manes to help with that. Then you get some animals that have quite a stiff mane, so like tapirs from South America, and that stiff mane runs all the way down towards the between the shoulder blades, and that's thought to actually protect their neck from jaguar. Horses, I'm not so sure why they have manes. Maybe just make them look pretty. I'm not entirely sure. So I think Tristan is, in the drainage line looking for a leopard. Now it could be that is what the elephants were trumpeting about, but it'd be interesting to find out where those tracks possibly were, if he's got any. So we've got the vultures up ahead, so we're going to make our way into the carcass, and we'll hopefully give you an update on those Nkuhumas.
Well, we're nowhere near a drainage line. We're just on the fire break following the tracks for the Styx Pride. And I would think this would be the first time in a very, 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 very long time that we would have any... Well, we have two different signs of Ngala, or different prides of lions. So that would be interesting. Now, there is a bird of prey here, which is... I wonder... Just one. I was hoping that there'd be more than one vulture. Then maybe it would just be a sign that the lions had killed something here. Their tracks crossed just in front of me towards Twin Dams, but there's our vulture sitting in the tree just above. There's a white-backed vulture. You can see it silhouetted against the afternoon sky. Oh, are you going to take off? Looks like it's getting ready. Those wings are flaring a little bit. Oh, defecating. I'm sure it's going to take off shortly. Often birds will do this. What is it with today and animals dropping their dung while we watch them? Maybe they're trying to send a message to us. Oh, is it going to go? It's going to go shortly, I'm sure of it. It looks like it wants to go. But like I say, white-backed vulture, easy to tell. It's got that dark eye and that light-coloured feather pattern with the dark trailing edge. It's quite common to see these guys here. We see them all over the place, and they're not really indicative of a carcass. And there we go, and you can actually see the white on the back as well. So they're not really indicative of a carcass. They are often birds that you'll see just sitting, but what could happen is they might have spotted the lions, landed just to see what's going on, and then moved off again. So I'm just going to try and see if I can't find their tracks somewhere here. I know they crossed somewhere on Weaver's Nest. Somebody else saw them when I was following them from Treehouse Dam side. Just after we saw those wildebeest, we came across their tracks going towards Treehouse Dam and then heading a little bit more to the east. So now I've just got to try and work out exactly where they went over. But I think it's... what's this here? No, those are giraffe tracks. Those are not what we're looking for. They said it wasn't too far from Gowrie, Main that they crossed. So if I can just pick up exactly where they went over, it certainly will be helpful, because they're not at Twin Dams, which means that if I head on the tracks itself, hopefully I'll be able to just bump into them somewhere in this block. Oh, no, nothing there. Now, I don't think I heard that correctly. Alice, can you say that again? You said the viewers are all wishing each other a... Happy Dung Day. Now, what is Happy Dung Day? Now I want to know why everybody is saying Happy Dung Day, because it would be nice to know. We want to be a part of it. Because we've been doing it. Was all Tara. Tara has been showing everybody Dung, and well, I just jumped on the bandwagon today because she had the animal, so I decided to have a look. But I found the tracks for the Styx Pride crossing here. They're going in towards this thicket, so I'm just going to follow with my vehicle because you're all with us, and so this is how we do it. We will track using car. Let's see if we can get it right. We got it pretty right the other day with the Nkuhumas Pride on their buffalo kill. So let's try and see if we can do it once again. Careful there, Senzo. I think Senzo's probably thinking to himself, do we have to go through here again? I once dragged Senzo through this area and it was a bit rough on poor Senzo. There were lots of branches and lots of fallen over trees. You remember, Senzo, when we followed Hosanna? You do remember, yes, I'm sure you do. It was like a nightmare that night. So we're just going slowly along with the line that is the one that the lions were following. There's a sort of certain pathway that's here that is perfect for these lions to follow and go along, and I would imagine that they're somewhere in this thicket just spending time relaxing and resting in the shade. It was a warm day today, so it wouldn't surprise me, and funny enough, it was actually a very warm morning. I was up early at around 5:45 and we were in t-shirts this morning as we came out, so it wasn't a very cool start to the day at all. Now I've got to try and just see if you've got a track. It's going straight. Senzo? See, Senzo's coming up in the tracking ranks. He's starting to really notice tracks everywhere. It's quite helpful because he helps me spot things all over the place. So Senzo's very appreciated. I'm glad that you do look out for the tracks for me. That's always makes it much easier when we work as a team as opposed to just him worrying about the camera and me just worrying about the drive. If we both think of each other, it certainly makes things a lot easier. Okay, Senzo, eyes peeled. These lions are going to be here somewhere. I've got a good feeling about this. This is a pathway that they have walked before, and we're going to go to an area where the last time we saw the Styx Pride. So when they had Hosanna up in the tree, and then that afternoon we had them resting, is exactly where we are now. So I'm hoping that we will find them here somewhere. Let's check here. Here will be a good place to check. Now, when you're tracking lions through areas like this, the best thing to do is to find places like where we are now, where there's a bit of bare ground. So as you go along and you see like there's a path through here, you follow that, and where you see some bare soil, like what Senzo's showing you, it's always good just to check those areas, and you can often then find a paw print that leads you in the direction of which way the pride had walked and went. So that's how we do it when we're tracking via a vehicle with a and on foot. It's both the same way. So you try and look for almost little traps, so to speak, as they kind of move along. Hopefully you then bump into where they've been walking. So that's why we're doing what we're doing, and we're trying to follow the most obvious path that these lions would have taken had they walked this area. So somewhere like where we are now. Let's see, nothing that I can see right now. The problem is the grass is such a long length in this area and the perfect coloration that unless we drive right on top of them, we're not probably going to see them very easily. But I'm still hopeful. I'm pretty sure we can find them here. There's just a bird that is calling to my right, so I was listening to that. Now here's the monkey orange thicket that they were in last time. Careful here, Senzo. You alright, buddy? So you just got to make sure that Senzo is okay in the back there. Ooh, where are you, stickies? One of you put your heads up, a little cub or somebody. At least the cubs, they tend to pick their heads up a little bit quicker than what the females do. The females are often a little lazy in the afternoons, and they're so used to the cars that they end up just keeping their heads down. So the cubs are the ones that we're going to have to look out for. Is just a little head poking out of the grass. But I can see Gari Main from where we are, and there's no tracks crossing there, so they must be here somewhere. It's just going to be one of those moments where we're going to have to just keep trying and keep looking and working our way around and doing some loops and figure of eights inside here until we actually bump into them. Now, Tara has had it a little easier this afternoon when it comes to the lions. Hers are sitting on a big fat buffalo kill. So let's go back to her while she enjoys the view and while I try and scratch my way through here and see if I can't find the Styx pride.
Welcome back, everybody. So potentially those elephants did find something there then, but maybe he already chased them off. So it'd be interesting to see if Tristan can follow up. And so I think they crossed into the back area of the Milwati and we were in the front part. But, let's say quite interesting because the other females didn't really try and catch up with them very quickly. And happy Dung Day to everybody as well. Apparently a lot of toileting animals with Tristan. Well, you know what my feelings are on the dung thing, so can learn a lot. So we back here at the carcass and it looks like they have opened it up and there's one of the females to our left here. Please don't come toilet here. Sure. I'm very grateful for that because it does smell. I think worse than the carcass. I think the carcass has dried out a bit. But I've just seen she's got a bit of a bloody ear, so perhaps she's been in a little bit of a fight. Perhaps that's what we were hearing. I'm wondering if we could maybe have a look. The vultures are starting to come a little bit closer than they were yesterday. There's one taking its chance, hooded vulture, on the smallest of trees. But there's quite a few around here now. They're all dotted around in the big trees. But these lions are on top of the carcass. I'm trying to work out if the cubs are actually sleeping in that position.
I think the one on the right is eating.
Yeah, the one on the right is definitely eating, but the one on the left, it almost looks like... Bless you. Bless you. Oh, there's the big boy. That's who's been sneezing. Just behind the vulture. So where the vulture was, just to the left. It's the tree to the left of it. Yeah, you've got him in view.
Okay.
Just trying to work out who was sneezing and why the cubs were watching. Where are you going, mister? Behind the termite mound. Wild Safari Man saying, can't believe that carcass was a live buffalo 48 hours ago. And it is, it's absolutely incredible. I say they're on day 2. I think they've probably got another day, if that, to feed. And then it will be literally bones. You can see, that's quite a big rack of ribs. Are we having a brighter night, guys? Oh, the wind's just changed. Oh. That is pretty strong.
But I think that's Dung, no?
I think it's a mixture.
Yeah.
But the wind did just change, my word. Oh. Now, I'm just watching what the male's doing behind the termite mound. I can just... He poked his head out. I think he's just flopped down behind the termite mound. But, the cubs are watching him. We'll see what happens. Steve. Hi, Steve. Wondering if the hyenas might have tried to come and get the carcass yet. Possibly. That could possibly be why the Birmingham boys came in. They might have heard the hyenas. Oh no, he has moved off actually. I can see him. It's much further. Heading north. Let's say cubs watching where he's going. But if they have done, obviously the pride have kept their prize. They are still here. I didn't hear any lions calling. Did you hear lions calling last night, Seb? No?
No.
Nothing. I didn't hear anything.
Actually, no, I think I might have, just like quite late in the night.
Oh, okay. Maybe because the females have had their fill, they felt like they could invite the boys in now. Hi, Laurie. Laurie asking if the Birmingham boys have access to the Styx and the Nkuhumas, the females, and I would say so. I think I'd need to check with Tristan where the Birmingham boys' territory, how far it encompasses, but I think they will cross over with the Styx by the sounds of it. The Styx might be up here. They were always around this area. Do you know where the Birmingham boys, how far south they get to?
Not sure, no.
No, maybe the viewers can help us out as well. How far the Birmingham boys patrol. So I was trying to think of the best word to use there. Hello, beautiful girl. Oh, is that Amber Eyes?
Yeah.
Oh, she really does have stunning eyes. Oh, it's a hard life being a lioness. Say we're what, 3 meters away from Africa's top predator. How incredible. This never gets old. Thanks, Dave. Dave confirming that the territory does incorporate the Styx, as well as the Nkuhumas, as well as the Torchwood Pride, who are further east from where we are now. The Styx, they always used to operate further south, and the Nkuhumas kind of the west and the north, and it sounds like that's still the case. Now, these female lions have decided to come to us. So they, as I say, that's one of the big things. That's one of the big things about keeping the respect with the animals, is we try not to infringe on. Sure, it's such an awkward little point. Oh, some people were wondering if he was actually stuck. It looks like the cubs managed to free itself anyway. So yeah, so we try not to infringe on their space. So we watch what they're saying and try and keep our distance where possible, and then if it's up to them to come to us, then that's up to them, but then it's on their ground, and that helps to keep them nice and relaxed. Apparently there's a piece of really good meat in there. Now, I was asked yesterday if I've ever known a cub to get stuck in a carcass, and I said, well, I've not heard of it. And then someone did post a video of a cub who did get its head stuck. It tried to go into, well, obviously where the soft tissue is in the anus, and it got its head in and could not get out again. But the rest of the carcass was open, so I think it would have got out eventually. I think the skin would have stretched, but quite an interesting video to watch. A typical cat, thinking it can get into places where its whiskers are telling it no. Yeah, Jeremiah definitely thinks the cub's going about it the wrong way. But you know what? I'm not gonna go up and tell it that. I'll let it figure it out for itself. Yeah, these vultures are starting to come in a little bit closer now, hoping to get dibs on that meat as soon as those lions move away. Whoa, that was a big growl. Stations, got 2 stations in the Ngala lock on the Bamba. Are we hearing that low growl? I can't work out who is actually growling. Because that sounds like a decent growl. Someone's gonna get tetchy very shortly. How's that for a maneuver? That's like typical kids. I'm sure any parent sitting at home watching this now gone, yeah, my kids have done that. And one wants something and the other one's in the way. I think what we might do, now that the other vehicle has moved, we might go around the other side and try and get a view from that side. I'm just going to mess with my keys just so these ladies next to us know that we're going to move, so we don't startle them. Just wait for the other vehicle to move. you see, didn't even flinch. Oh, we just missed the sunset. Still a beautiful pink sky. Trees are on fire. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I would have a few people panicking. Ah. What? My back end? Back in like that. Right. Oh, those vultures. Okay, I was a little bit low down. I was thinking, where are you seeing vultures? Okay, say when's good for you to see them. Lots of space, no lions, hey? Yeah. That'll be epic if it does. Oh, look at that typical vulture pose as well. So that scene from the Jungle Book. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Beautiful, Seb. Is that vulture's pretty in pink? Beautiful. Good call. So, okay, so we'll see if we can get a side view here. I think it'll actually work in our favour, smell wise. Oh, look at that. You're snoozing on the job. Okay, is that good there? Oh. Well, I suppose it is tiring work, trying to get your way through that carcass. I think it is this cub that is actually doing a lot of the grumbling, which is quite amazing. Sorry, it was the one on the other side. Which is quite amazing. That's quite a decent growl. Oh, there we go. I'm woken up. That's my pillow. Don't eat that. Yeah, Liv. Also, I've not heard the cubs growl like that before either. That's a decent growl. Hi Paula, welcome on board. Asking what age is a lion considered a grown-up? It's usually about the 18 months, 2 years old mark. That's when they potentially, 2 years old, is when they can potentially start reproducing. So, yeah, from about a year onwards, usually called a sub-adult, really. Yeah, I'll pull over for you. Can you get past? Okay. Thank you. Ooh, breathe it in. Yeah, you can see the cub using that rough tongue to try and work the meat from the bone, and then using the cheek teeth, the carnassials, which are the very sharp teeth, and they fit together very closely in the jaw, so they actually work against each other to keep the teeth nice and sharp. Which is why you keep seeing it use those teeth on the side. There you go. Ooh. Hi, Deadhead Tum. Good afternoon to you. Asking if the cubs will get enough nutrition from the buffalo if it looks like it was in good condition itself, because obviously they've been suffering in the past couple of years from the white mussel disease, where the animals that the lions are actually eating haven't had enough nutrients themselves, so the cubs aren't getting enough nutrients. So unfortunately I didn't see this buffalo alive. I'll have to ask Tristan what he thought of them, but it does seem to be a little bit more food for them this year than there was last year. Yeah, last year Djuma went through, well, the whole country went through quite a severe drought. There was just not enough rain that fell in this area at all. So the grass that grew also didn't have enough nutrients. And unfortunately, as I say, it trickles down the food chain. But there does seem to be a bit more food. I've actually noticed the impala looking pretty well, actually. All the other antelope that I've seen actually looking in good condition. So I'm thinking the buffalo are probably in better condition this year. Aww. And why's your ears back? We didn't do anything. Hi, Mark. Asking if lions have baby teeth. And I believe they do. I know elephants have milk tusks, and something is telling me that they do, but maybe someone can just check up for me on that one, just to make sure. Even at this age, they're pretty strong. Not sure I'd go for an ear, but there you go. I'm not a lion. So it does smell quite a lot. I would be surprised if the hyenas haven't located this carcass, especially with all the vultures in the trees as well. But we're going to keep our eyes peeled to see if anything does come this way. And in the meantime, we can catch up with Tristan. Apparently he's bunder bashing. That definitely works up an appetite, I can tell you. We'll maybe bring him a rib back.
Well, we are bundu bashing because we've run out of light to be on foot to try and find these cats. So I'm just trying my luck, really, and driving around in circles. But so far, I can't find any further sign. The last tracks I had is back where Senzo pointed them out. They were coming straight in the direction of where we are now. But alas, there's just really no sign of anything that I can see. We also, unfortunately, have some unexpected visitors inside here, those that shall not be named, so I can't really do too much in terms of walking around, and that means that we're a little on the limited side. So I was just trying to follow the path in the direction that they were heading and just hope that they were going to pop up somewhere, but I think I might have to admit defeat on this one for now, because like I say, we've just run out of lights to really be driving around here aimlessly, and I don't want to damage poor Wendy. Just while we had a bit of light, just to see if I could jump off here and there and try and track, but unfortunately that's not the case. So what I'm going to do is I'll just head slowly towards Twin Dams from here. I'm just trying to get back towards the road, and once I get onto the road, then I'll just slowly move along, and hopefully these lions pop out for me at the dam and are having a little drink. That would be quite spectacular if they were. And if they're not, well, it's still been a beautiful afternoon. I've still enjoyed myself thoroughly driving around. Always nice when you get a few tracks that gets the excitement levels going and makes you work a little bit to try and find them. So it's always worth it when you do have tracks that you can have a little look at. Now, for those who are interested in shadow, I was saying that the cub was seen very, very briefly just now by itself. It unfortunately jumped down a tree and ran away because it was on its own and the guys found it on foot. So shadow is around as well. Apparently it seems like she took the cub there and then left and went off hunting. The tracks go further east towards Zoe's and cross over there. So tomorrow morning will be a perfect place to follow up. First thing is head into that area, try and see if there aren't any sign of shadow going back towards the cub, and hopefully there will be a meal somewhere waiting for both of them, which will be quite nice. So they are in the area, which is good news. And for those of you that were wondering about Shadow's cub, it is safe, it is healthy. Apparently it's just on its own, and well, we don't want to scare it and get it completely petrified of vehicles by spending too much time bashing around on its own. So we decided, just all of us, to leave that area and leave it until we can find positive sign that mom is heading back there. Remember, ultimately we want these animals to get habituated to us, not scared of us, so just have to show them a little bit of respect, and especially as young ones, not force the issue too much. And if they're shy and they're moving away already, then you don't want to carry on adding vehicle pressure to that and push them out. So, but I'm sure a lot of you are happy to hear that the little one is doing well. And it seems as though Tara's had a bumper afternoon. We've been following ghosts, and she's had the Ellies and the lions, so I'm super happy for her. Her time with us is starting to come to an end, and she will hopefully be back one day. Pleasure spending time around Tara. She's such a wealth of knowledge, and she fits into the team just like everybody else, and it really is nice having her around. So hopefully this will not be the last time that we see her on Safari Live. I know that she's very keen to come back and to help us out, and so hopefully it will be. She's just unfortunately very busy with all of her doctorate stuff and getting all of that stuff done, so that takes up a lot of her time. But I'm sure she's loved every second of it, and I'm glad that she's managed to catch up with so many of our characters. And it would be so nice if she gets Shongile or even Shadow and the cub tomorrow morning. It would be a perfect fitting way for her to finish up with the leopard side of things. And then I believe people are waving. Now I just want to see, maybe they've seen something, so I'm going to just try and see if they know something. No, they're just being silly and trying to wave for a camera that we're not going to put on them, because, well, if you want to be silly, then we're not going to do things like that. And they haven't signed a disclaimer form either. I thought they were calling us because they maybe had seen the Styx coming out. The way that they were waving was as though they had seen something, but they were just trying to get our attention so that the camera would be pointed at them. It's funny how people get around cameras. I don't know why it always is a thing that people have to act and try and wave and get our attention. It's an interesting social dynamic. Now, apparently Alice is speaking to me. Alice, I can't hear you. Can you go again and see if the comms are working? Alice? Seems like every time I come towards Twin Dams, my radio comms just go off. So I can't hear her at all at the moment, which is not ideal. So, Senzo, you're going to have to repeat what Alice is saying. I can link back to Tara. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Alice, because I can't hear you. So let's go back to Tara and the Nkuhumas and the Birminghams, and I'm hoping, beyond all hope, that they do vocalize for all of you.
I think Tristan definitely wins for the longest link there. That's it.
No doubt.
Game over. Bless him. Apparently he really wants the ribs for all those wonderful things he was saying. Sure. Well, thanks, Tristan. But, yeah, I feel like I have been taking it easy a little bit, actually. Just going from the Eddies to the Lions. Bless him. He has been an absolute gentleman. He did ask if I wanted to come up to the Lions this afternoon. So, well, not so little anymore. Fighting over the buffalo. The one has gone back to sleep on the buffalo by the looks of it. This one, we're not, it's just not entirely sure what's been spooking it, but yeah, that one. I can think of better places to sleep. Because that, we did get a bit of a whiff, and even though it has dried out a bit, there is still quite a distinctive smell to it. Let's put it that way. We're getting a little bit of growling again. Hopefully we're picking that up. I'm absolutely amazed at that growl from this little 8-month-old cub. It's just incredible. There's quite a few flies that just came out of there, sure. I'm just keeping quiet so you can actually hear that grumbling. It's really quite amazing. Flies as a side course, Jeffer. Entree. But you will actually get some animals eating the maggots from carcasses, especially bush pig. Bush pig will come into a carcass that's pretty old, eating the leftovers, if there is any, after the scavengers have come through. Also eating any of the insects that are there. That's something we don't see much of, is the bush pig around here. So yeah, I think maybe day 3 and that's going to be it. Hi Jackie. Jackie asking if it would have taken all the lionesses in the Nkuhumas Pride to bring down this buffalo. And I've seen 2 lionesses bring down a buffalo. Certainly the one grabbed hold of the throat and then the second one lent the weight, but the buffalo wasn't a big dugger boy like this. Sorry, I just touched my hat there. But, for some of the big buffalo, maybe 3 or 4 females are needed to bring it down. Just depends on the individual as well. I mean, if it's a very weak individual, then they won't need to overpower it as much as a strong individual. So this was quite an old boy by the looks of it. I think Tristan had a good look at it during the day. And he called it. He did say that he thought the lions were following him, or following the small herd. And then they caught up with them later on after they moved from Gowrie down. Really? You're going to tell your mum? I'd like to see who win that fight. Cheeky geeky miss. Yeah, I think I've gotten used to the bad smells over the years. You learn to breathe through your mouth rather than your nose. Than your nose. Try and pronunciate. But that is the trick. And also trying to park upwind from it. So you can still hear a few birds singing the chorus as the sun has departed from the world. Hear 1 or 2 of the Cape turtle dove. Do, 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 do. Vultures are really capable of making a noise or a song, but they are able to hiss when they're around a carcass, but you don't really hear them giving any calls. We go to the one on the right, it's actually standing on the branch. Sure. Balancing act. That can't be easy. You can hear the pearl-spotted owlet calling as well. Really got a little temper on it, hasn't it? Oh, here we go. don't know if we're picking up. There's a second lion that's the one that they're looking at now. The first lion that was calling was up to our right. So I think it's the Birmingham boys trying to locate each other. And these girls are keeping quiet. It's almost like it's turned into a feeding frenzy. Yeah, try and get as much food in that belly before the boys come. Yeah, even the females are coming in, look. They are not willing to share this prize, that's for sure. Absolutely incredible. I'm so glad we got to hear the calls, because that is probably one of the most magical sounds of the bush, is hearing the lions calling. It has been a wonderful afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed the tracking as well with Tristan and all the dung as well. It's been wonderful hearing from you all. We really enjoy all your questions and comments, and to spend a day in the bush with you is just absolutely magic. With Safari Live, oh, it doesn't get much better, does it? Having lions on your screen as we say goodbye. Wherever you are in the world, take care, have a wonderful day, have a wonderful sleep, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, on our next live safari. But for myself and the rest of the team here at Safari Live, goodbye for now.